you doing, Grandma?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm in China.
You in China? Yes?
That's right. Everybody is watching and smiling.
It feels good to be queen.
My earliest recollection is that we were in Tel Aviv. And we moved a lot. We moved quite a bit. We moved from Tel Aviv, then we moved to Petah Tikva.
So when did you go? My mother was born in 32 and you went to Palestine 6 months. When did you leave to go?
No, she stayed in Poland and I left for Palestine.
How old was my mother?
She wasn't here.
So about 1933.
Yeah, 1933 I left for Poland. I left for Palestine. I come to Palestine in May 1933.
How did you get there?
Illegal.
Illegal.
What, you remember you went on a boat?
Huh?
You remember the name of the boat?
It was a company, smugglers. So I find out that someone, the police catch him. He was illegal, in the country. But not to send them out from the country, the government, the Tzachnud, the agency, gave him a certificate. He got a certificate.
Between the few people who they tell to come to Israel, they take off 1 or 2 or
So
5.
I wrote a letter. I squealed at myself that this and this Mr. Sara Steinmark is a illegal person and he's not a good person it's against me, against the government, and I wrote a letter like this.
I went to the Pardes.
I took my brother went and we went to sleep in the Pardes,
In the orchard.
in the orchard. After 2 days, the manager from the colony, Ostrovsky, sent somebody to tell me, Mr. Steinmark, don't come to the colony. The English police is searching for you. They come here, they're looking for you. But it's come a Jewish policeman come before to say that I should eat myself, hide myself.
Right, go hide.
Yeah.
That was working against the
I understand.
Huh?
I understand.
Yeah, and he gave me a letter. This Ostrovsky gave me a letter that the police is after me, and they will try to catch me and send me out of the country. If they catch me, send me out of the country, I would not be able to come in. Even the government, even the Tzachnud gives me a certificate. But I went with this letter to Jerusalem. And with this letter in Jerusalem, they looked up at this and they say, all right, we will give you a certificate, but under the conditions that you have to go back to Poland. Instead to make you legal, your wife and your child will come on the same certificate and they will be legal too. So I agreed. I come to Poland and your mother was a little baby in the crib.
And I say,
So she was 2 years old then?
Yeah. Or something. I say,
Your mother's.
She was about 2 years old.
Your daddy's gonna come.
Little 2 years
Your
old.
daddy's gonna come. She looks at him. He say, he's ready here.
She rise up and said, he's good. He came already. Showing you came.
What were the living conditions like? What was the apartment like? I guess.
Well, the apartment.
How many rooms? Do you
One
remember?
room.
1 room?
1 room.
Shared bathroom, or do you have your own bathroom?
Shared bathroom with 3 other families.
Right.
It was just basically 1 large room which served everything, and there was a tiny kitchen which probably was the size of a countertop, a small countertop, tiny kitchen. There was there was electricity there, but because the war broke out pretty soon, we had blackouts, and you really did not use your electricity. And most of the time, the light was provided by a ptiliya, which was a kerosene lamp. There was a shortage of water. There was always a shortage of water too, because you were allotted a certain amount of water, so everybody tried to go get their shower before everybody else did, And you could only use a certain amount of water, and very often you'd get stuck soaked up and nowhere to go.
So Neely comes along when you were 8 years old,
8 years old.
right? What was that like? She kind of
Well,
crowding
she was
in.
like a toy. I mean, she was beautiful. She was a beautiful, beautiful baby. Beautiful blonde hair, soft, gorgeous skin. She was a beautiful baby. And everybody in the building just adored her. You know, she was the only baby at the time. So, you know.
So that's 1940 or so, thereabouts. 1940. And you were living
in the midst of the war. And very often, you know, we'd have air raids. So everybody would rush to grab her and take her down to the shelter. And then during the war, at one time or another, there were things that brought the reality of the war in Europe to you, because there were the raids on Tel Aviv, and people from Tel Aviv moved to Petah Tikva to be away from the center of the raids. At that time, you had the English white paper, which restricted all immigration to Palestine, Jewish immigration to Palestine. I remember my parents leaving me with Neely. I was in charge, of course. And they went to march in a protest with the rest of the Yishuv.
We come to the first boat after the war. It still was ammunition in the water.
Under the
Wartime.
They were still mines.
Mines.
Then
Borough mines.
my parents pay a lots of money for our coming. That time, $1,000 for every person to come to the United States. 50 years ago.
Right.
But the money, his sister loaned us, and my father was giving. When we come back, we pay everybody.
We give back.
We pay them back.
So you came to America in 1945, 46. Where did you go?
We went to Memphis because that's where the family was. My grandparents.
How old were you by then?
I was
You were
14.
All right, 14. How long did you stay in Memphis?
I didn't stay in Memphis very long, but they stayed in Memphis. They worked in the bakery. So, my grandfather had the bakery, so they worked in the bakery. It was very difficult for Saba and Savta in Memphis. Savta and Saba went to work in Hot Springs, the hotel there. There was a Jewish hotel, one Jewish hotel, and they worked there for a while. And after they worked there for a while, they decided to leave Memphis.
Yeah, so they went to New York.
And they went to New York and they got a job. And I had already been in New York. I was living with my Aunt Fanny, my father's sister.
How old were you then? By then?
I was but then 14 and a half, maybe 15.
Oh, so this wasn't a very long time period.
No, it's a very short time period. I didn't stay in Memphis more than maybe 6 months. As a matter of fact, I did go to school in Memphis. I went to public school. I went to grade school, actually. I was already high school age, but I didn't know enough English, so they put me in lower grades, which was fine. And the kids were nice. I learned a lot more English there. And then when I went to New York, I was already more fluent in English, so I could do much better. And I went into my proper grade in high school. When Saba and Savta came, they worked in a hotel, summer hotel in the Catskills. And that's when they made a little money. Saba worked as a waiter, and Savta worked as the chef, the cook, whatever you want to call it. And they made a little money, and they were able to buy into Aunt Fanny's and Uncle Morris's cigar store business. I don't know if it was such a good deal for them, but that was the only thing that they knew that they could get into, so they got into it, and they worked very hard. I went to James Monroe High School in the Bronx, and then I went to Hunter College in the Bronx. And I didn't have to do a lot of searching because an interesting thing, Saba and Savta at that point had not applied for citizenship, even though they could have. We'd already been in the United States a certain number of years. They could have already applied for citizenship. But when I learned that, if you're a citizen of this country and you go to a city college, you only pay $25. So I told them they need to become citizens so that I could, go to college because they couldn't afford to pay. So they applied for citizenship, and sure enough, I entered home to college and, went on to Herzliya Teachers Institute. And Sonia and your dad were on a date together at the time. And Dad got me a date with somebody else.
Oh, who was that? Do you remember? Some guy.
I transferred from Hunter to University of Memphis State, so I was busy in school anyway.
So you had all these children?
I had all these children. I took care of them. I volunteered at school, helped out in different things.
There are places I remember all my life. To some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone, and some remain. All these places had their moments with lovers and friends. I still can recall. Some are dead and some are living. In my life, I love them all. But of all these friends and lovers, there is no one compares with you. And these memories lose their meaning when I think of love as something new. Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I love you more. Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my